As you learn about the narcissistic pattern, it's also wise to reflect on the much healthier alternatives. Now, below you're going to find a link to my new extensive course called Ready, Set, Connect. It addresses both the mindset and the skills involved in gratifying relationships, and I hope you'll find it to be quite therapeutic. One of the more interesting byproducts of me having spent my entire career being a therapist is when people find out about the kind of work that I do, I often am asked a similar kind of question from many different sources. And people will say, Dr. C, how in the world would you sit in there day after day and listen to people talking about their many problems and difficulties and strains that they've gotten themselves into, and then walk away from all of that and maintain your sanity? Now, when people would ask me that question, it would illustrate that they absolutely, completely miss the greatest joy, or maybe I should say the greatest honor that I would have by being in my profession. And that is when people would come into my counseling office, they would say, this is a place where I get to take off my mask. I get to just lay myself bare and say, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to trust you with my innermost thoughts and feelings and needs and longings and hurts. I want a place where I can come and be real. And when somebody would do that with me, I would think to myself, I'm standing on hallowed ground here, and I want to make sure that I'm up to the challenge. Now, I want to emphasize as strongly as I know that the ultimate kryptonite to a narcissist is to make oneself completely vulnerable. When you put a narcissist in a situation and you more or less imply, let's be completely open. Let's take that mask off and let's just be completely honest about who you are. In their minds, it's like, oh, that weakens me so much. That diminishes me. That makes me feel frail. I don't know that I can move forward. And in their minds, vulnerability is something to shun. And I don't know if that's a real strong enough way to put it. Vulnerability is something for them to run away from. Now, in my mind, as a therapist, as I'm trying to figure out what healthy living is all about, vulnerability allows a place for empathy to grow, where authenticity is central to the way that we engage with each other. When we're vulnerable, it means that our exchanges actually can become meaningful. In vulnerability, you can find relief and you can feel safe. Vulnerability leads the way towards self-awareness and introspection. Vulnerability means that we set aside any kind of idealistic or perfectionistic notions, and we're just going to say, why don't we be real with each other? That's a rather nice thing to think of. Within vulnerability, kindness has a deeper sense of meaning, and it registers at a much deeper level. When you are vulnerable and it's received well, it allows you to feel known. Learning can happen. You can find relief from your stress. Spirituality seems to be something that's more, rather than fact-based, it's more experiential-based. Your emotions can be processed in a healing kind of way. Acceptance, and when I say acceptance, true acceptance, can be experienced and relished. Now, all of that is anathema to the narcissist. Vulnerability, like I say, is their ultimate kryptonite. They're fear-based, they're shame-based, they're committed to phoniness, and they will absolutely run away from vulnerability. They fear being weakened by the very idea of laying themselves open. You see, in the narcissistic way of thinking and being, to them, it's better to be feared than to seem approachable. To a narcissist, they must, and when I say they must appear strong. They cannot let you know their weaknesses. To a narcissist, it's far more gratifying to crush than to build up. In their minds, it's better to be stubbornly opinionated than to simply say, there's a whole lot that I could learn. Can't say that. To a narcissist, in their mind, it's better to groom people who will superficially give them admiration than to just simply say, how can we each make one another's life go a little bit better because of our presence with one another? To a narcissist, they would rather project that they have all of the answers rather than to say, I could use some help. You'll not hear them say that. Narcissists, in their mind, will say that it's better to highlight your inadequacies as opposed to saying, well, I too have hurts and struggles. Want to go ahead and put it all out there with each other? With a narcissist, they'd rather play the scoreboarding game rather than to say, well, we're each unique, but we're also equal to one another. Let's use that as our starting point. They can't think like that. With a narcissist, in their mind, it's better to erect an irrational defensive wall than to clear out pathways so that we can approach one another heart to heart. That concept is completely lost on them. In a narcissist's mind, it's better to criticize than to encourage. It's better to run from accountability as opposed to saying, I don't mind you examining me. So narcissists would rather be absolutely anything but vulnerable. They can't do it. Now, I want you to go back to my experiences as a therapist where I would have people that would come into my office and they would tell me all sorts of stories, and I can't even begin to tell you some of the things that I've heard, but I can promise you I've heard pretty much anything and everything inside the book. And I came to the conclusion that the essence of healing is not in the processing of intellectual understanding, although that does have its place. The essence of healing is to know how to love. The essence of healing is to say, let's be real with each other. The essence of healing is our way of saying, I want peace and I know you want peace. Let's see if we can find ways to make that a mutually achievable goal. When you show vulnerability and when you want to approach healing, you create a mindset that says, here we're going to be safe. Here we're going to be open. Here we're going to be kind. Here we can be gentle with one another. Here approachability is prioritized. Here we have honesty right down to the core of what we are. Here we're going to say that goodness matters and my goodness toward you matters. Like I say, narcissists, when you think and approach them with this kind of mindset, it's like, oh, that scares the living daylights out of me. It is indeed their kryptonite. But by being this way, they illustrate in a major way how detached they really are from the ultimate insight that says a successful life is not built upon the fleeting impressions of power and idealism and measurable achievements and being authoritative. That's not a successful life. A successful life is grounded in love. And the ultimate way to display love is to say, I have my experiences of highs and lows, and I know you've had your experiences of highs and lows. Why don't we hold each other up in the strongest sense of dignity as we can while we explore what that means with each other? I like that approach a whole lot better. So vulnerability, unfortunately, because there are so many people who do not understand that, is something that you have to be judicious about as you try to engage with people, But when you're able to find people that'll say, oh, I so want to be vulnerable with you, and you're willing and able to do it in reverse with them, that's when you're going to find a way of goodness and decency. Regrettably, narcissists cannot and will not go into that space. And that's why people like me say, well, if that's the case, then unfortunately, these are individuals that you can't really engage with. Not that I don't want to help them, but they don't want to go into that space. But I'm hoping that's something that you can embrace. And I'm hoping that's something that you can know about yourself. That's the best of what you can be. Openness, vulnerability, authenticity. It's the opposite of their lack of vulnerability, but it's the beginning point of you finding true healing. And I hope that insights such as this can give you some good food for thought. And I hope that it makes you realize that when narcissists come at you with the notion that says you're beneath me, all they're doing is they're illustrating they don't get it. And I'm hoping that videos such as this can reinforce the notion of what clean and right and appropriate living is. If you've not already hit that subscribe button, I would encourage you to do so. We'll keep more videos coming in your direction. Hit the notification bell that goes with it. I know there are times when you might have a desire that says, I could use some therapy to help sort all of this out. Obviously, I'm a therapist, and I've been referring people to therapy my entire adult life. We have a sponsor, and I'm very pleased to be associated with the BetterHelp people. If you'll go beneath the video, you'll find a link to the BetterHelp.com, and you can go and you can select from a whole team of licensed professional therapists that can assist you in sifting these kind of things out. In addition, I have courses. And these are very extensive. We have my new one, Ready, Set, Connect. It's all about having the healthy way of living and engaging with people. This is me about setting boundaries, Free to Be about finding yourself despite the controllers. And these are strongly therapeutic endeavors that you would engage in. It would require a lot of work from you. But like I say, they're courses that are meant to take you into a therapeutic direction. In addition, we have my books and other resources. Narcissists, when you say that word vulnerability, they say, that ain't for me. But I'm hoping it's something that you would embrace, and in the right circumstances, I'm hoping that that's something that you would find to be quite therapeutic. And the more you're able to be honest with yourself and open with yourself, and hopefully finding people that can be that safe haven for you, it would lead you to a place where you truly are an authentic person and one who's capable of living inside the place of peace.